Hello, this is Lincoln Dammers with BoardGameGeek, and I'm here with Chris Handy from Perplex Games, showing us his new Paco Games set with another 9 games.
Yes, it's outrageous. So this is actually currently on Kickstarter at PacoGame2.com. We have a little bit more gamer-satisfying set here. It's kind of more middleweight, but still very short, interesting decisions, simple rule set. So what we're dealing with here, let's take a look at some of these. So this is gym, as in gym class. And what we're going to do first is we are going to lay out these 6 events.
There we go.
And
so is this like a track day type of a thing?
Well, there's 6 events that these kids are eventually going to play in. So this is kind of the setup for the events. And then I'm going to move them up.
Just a little bit.
Okay, and then we're going to lay out a cast of kids here. And
oh yeah, that's correct.
What's that?
This is my first one of these today, and we oriented towards us. I know, I'm not. I told you I was tired.
All
There
right.
you go.
So basically, you'll have 12 kids here to pick from, and that's better. That's better.
It's better for us too. We can actually read it.
Space them out. All right.
Sweet.
Okay, so you'll have 6 kids or so, or actually 12. And what you do is basically like a draft, just like PE class. So on your turn,
Picking the guys you
or
want
somebody
for
from
your
your
team.
team will take a kid into your hand, and they're each going to do well at 2 different events. If you happen to take a bully, there are 6 in the game.
Those guys are good at one and bad at everything else.
So that's one of the bullies. So when you take a bully, you're going to actually influence the event schedule. So when you take a bully, you can move one of the events forward 2 spaces, or any 2 events forward 1 space each. So these are going to progress across, and eventually when all the kids have been taken into the hand, this will determine, based on how far along they are, which 4 of the 6 events will play. So you're trying to balance which guys you're taking in and their skill set with what's going to make it into the event round.
Awesome, some great characters too here.
Yeah, a lot of diversity. Suze was actually praising the game for that. So anyway, so that's that part of the game. Once these are in the hand, the events are determined, and they're going to go in between the 2 players or the 2 teams.
And then you're playing your cards to the
And you're going
event.
to play them down. And what you do when you play a kid down is you can play either event action that's on the kid, as long as that event's in the game. So right now, tug of war is in the game, but basketball is not. And these actually will become coaches, which I'll describe in a second. So he can do tug of war, or he can do the event action in which I placed him at, which is dodgeball.
Which he's not going to be as strong as because he's not...
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
What you're asking, though, is ultimately what we want to do is have as much red guys on our side as possible to beat as much red as our opponent has. So that's not a great place to play that guy. This would be better.
Right.
But if I really wanted to do this action, I could play him over here and then maybe later move him here. Because, in fact, that's exactly what this action would do, is it would allow me to move any kid to any other event. I could even do that with my opponents. So if you happen to play them, that guy there, I could play him here and say, you know what, this guy's not here anymore, he's there.
Yeah, you want him to be in a weaker spot.
Right. So all of the actions manipulate the board. Swap 2 kids, lift any kid and replace it. You can do, a lot of them are either offensive or defensive or both. So a lot of interesting decisions there. If you play a bully out, what happens is you do the normal action that I described, but then you can move a coach to a side of any of the 4 events. And what the coach does is he reduces the chaos at that event. So now
he's like at a dance chaperone.
Yeah, he's kind of a
the
chaperone.
game.
Well, he reduces the nonsense. So basically,
focus on the game.
If you come along and say, I want to switch 2 kids or do something else, if there's a coach there, those kids are not eligible for a switch.
Oh, okay.
But I can still play kids to that
right.
event.
You just can't move them around.
Right. So that's more offensive. But I could also say, okay, well, clearly Lincoln does not know what he's doing, and he has a bunch of garbage.
How would you know that that's true?
It's just an assumption.
It's probably correct.
So anyway, I can play this like this.
Yeah, to prevent me.
And lock your junk in for a while.
Right.
And you can only get rid of it if you play a bully and move the coach.
Oh, okay. Thematically, is the bully distracting the coach? Is that the deal?
Yeah, it's kind of like he's causing a lot of chaos over there. So, hey, we've got to bring this guy over.
Whistle's blowing, and here they go.
Whistle.
Yeah, cool.
So this is Jim. So a lot of fun, a lot of theme.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the next game we have is RUM. This is a lighter one in the set. This is a pressure luck set collecting game.
Okay.
And what we have here are the captain cards. And this will help us track points. And we have the castaway clock. This is going to be a potential in-game trigger. All of these cards are double-sided. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8. The main piece of the game is this shipwreck, which is a draw pile. And we also have a beach, which is a public draw pile. So on your turn, you can either take a bottle into your hand, or bottle card, or you can play a set. And when you play a set, you have to be able to play more of a certain color than the current total of that color. So right now, all of these colors are at 1. So I need to play 2 red or 2 green in order to bring that captain card into my possession. And now I have 2 points according to what I just played.
Right.
And this will kind of signify that.
Okay.
Okay, so the 2 faces me. Everybody should know that's a 2. Now, if you come along and play 4, then you're going to steal the captain card and put this at 4 in front of you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's how those work. So each of the bottle cards have a bottle on top and then 2 at the bottom of a different color. So when they're in your hand, you might take this one as a turn. This beach refills face down, and I'll get to that in a second. But basically, you can kind of build how you want to do your set. So I might do this and this.
Is there a level of rarity of a certain color?
No,
or
it's
anything?
completely balanced on color. And so let's say I want to play this. Well, you're going to choose one of the ends. So I'm going to play 2 blue, a green, a yellow, and a pink.
Okay.
And everything that's on the beach, the singles are also in everybody's hand.
Your pool.
So this is, community like Texas Hold'em or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay, so I actually have 2 pink, 2 green, 2 blue, and a yellow. So at this point in the game, 1, 2. So just the singles.
Okay, I'm sorry. You said
just the singles. So I get this, I get this, and I get this, and I actually get this. Okay, and they're all at 2 except yellow. Actually, I didn't get yellow. I apologize. So that's what I would have gotten on that play. These get thrown in, mixed around, and play continues.
Neat.
Now, here's the pressure luck portion of this game.
That's what I'm waiting for.
There's got to be some little rub here, right? So if you draw this guy, the parrot, from the shipwreck, that means you drew him privately, on your own. You are going to be forced to discard, in this case, 2 from your hand, shown here, and then this will turn. This is a clock. So now we're going to, when this gets to the shipwreck, or the ship, then the game is over.
Okay.
Okay?
So when this guy shows up, that advances the clock.
Yeah, when I draw him, I'm penalized. But here's something interesting. When these get filled up, they all flip at once. And when you do so, if he shows up here, everybody's penalized.
Okay.
If the shipwreck runs out of cards, the player with the most cards in their hand discards their whole hand.
Oof.
So there's a lot of tension, and it gets pretty rough out there.
Okay, especially losing the whole hand.
Yeah. So don't pressure luck too much. So here's one final thing about this game is what's called a RUM trio. And if you play the single bottles of a color, if you play all 3 of the single bottles, then what you can do is steal the captain card from wherever it is and increase it by 2. So let's say I had this at 4.
Wow, okay.
You played this, you steal it from me regardless of what it is, and it goes to 6.
Neat.
Boom. So this is a trigger, and the number of players will also dictate a point threshold that will end the game as well.
Okay.
2 players is 21, 3 is 18, and 4 is 15.
Neat. Total points for everybody or just for the player?
For the player.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is RUM. It's about 15 minutes.
Neat.
Okay, here's SOW. And this is a gardening game with a Mancala mechanic. This is 2 to 4 players. It plays in about 20 minutes. And the way you set it up, let's see, we're facing this way, right? What you're going to do here is every player is going to have a wheelbarrow in front of them. And on the other side of that wheelbarrow is a secret color that they want to try to get the most of in their bouquet.
And they know this.
They know that
when they get the card.
Game.
Okay.
Yep, and nobody else knows it. You're going to fill the garden here with these seeds. And, oops, let's see. There we go. And the gopher is placed here, and the windmill is placed here. So that's the start game, the setup. And so on your turn, you must pick up any row in the game and redistribute it in the direction of the windmill. So clockwise to start. That will change potentially in the game.
Okay.
Okay, so I might do, let me think about this here. I'm going to do this row. And I'm going to put one here, and I'm going to put this one here. Now, the last card that you placed is important. If it's seeds, then it flips over, and so does every other seed of that color. This is where the flowers come in.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if your secret color is blue, this is a valuable card to you because at the end of the game, you're going to get 3 points for every flower where your secret color is in the center. You'll get 2 points for the flower if your secret color is petals, the outside, and if your secret color is not on there, it's worth 1.
Okay.
So
what? How does it seed there? What triggered the seeding? That it had the same color in that pile?
So because it was a seeds and it was the last card placed.
Oh, okay, 3. Okay.
Then that must flip, and anything matching that color would also flip. Okay. So the other thing that would trigger some kind of action is if a flower ends up in one of the wheelbarrow slots. There's 2 in each card. So this is an example of this. I might do this, and I end in any player's wheelbarrow with a flower. So I'm the active player. I declare one of these 2 colors, and the controller of the wheelbarrow gets to collect this. So it can be a very defensive game too, because if somebody can collect a bunch of flowers, you're actually going to do that for them, but declare the color that would only give them 1.
You're not knowing. You have no idea when you're flipping over.
You only
whether
know
it's
one of the colors,
right,
based on the seeds.
Neat.
So here's the other thing. Let me get a little bit more here. So if
I'm thinking because flower seed packs often have other stuff in there, you get little surprises.
Yeah, I guess you do in this game too. So if I were to end here, and this was your wheelbarrow, I would have to choose white or red for you to take. And I would choose red because you would only get this. If I were to choose white, you would get everything that has white. Neat. Actually, I apologize. This is red. So either one of them, you're going to get 2 flowers out of. So that's kind of how the flowers will get pulled out of the game.
Okay.
When there's only 1 or 0 cards left in each of the rows, then that's when you kind of do your total.
Neat.
The one last thing here are these 2 garden actions. And during the redistribution, if you're able to
get them
line
together
up, in the same row, they don't have to be on top of each other. It could be this. Then you finish your turn, you might collect a flower, or somebody else might, and then the active player gets to choose one of these 2 face-up actions to do. You can either change the windmill or change the direction of redistribution, so now everything will move this way, which is really important in a 2-player game. Or you can do the gopher action, which would say all flowers in any of the rows are discarded out of the game. So if I think you're yellow, I can remotely say all of the yellow flowers here are white.
Oof, okay.
So it gets rough. The other action is the watering can, and you can basically take any flower in your wheelbarrow and add it to your pile.
Okay.
So, and then whatever action you choose, the card flips.
But they need to be together to make any of those actions happen.
Yes.
And you can just flip it over once you've done it. You can decide, hey, you know what, I want to take something out of a row.
Yes.
Neat.
And so those 2 actions will basically be available when they line up again.
Neat.
So that's how this game works. So it's probably best with 2. 3 is a little bit strange because, nobody's here. It's still balanced, but it doesn't feel the same.
Right.
And then 4 has a little more chaos. So I still think it's best with 2, but it's great with 2.
Neat.
So, yeah. So that's so.
So that's so.
So. And finally, we have ORC. This is a 2-player only game, and it plays in about 5 minutes. So sometimes it's best to play 2 out of 3 on this one. What you're going to do is go through the deck, and you're going to pull out all 6 territory colors, have them represented in front of you and your opponent. Then you're going to create 6 draw piles. Let's see, this one. And if you want to be first player, you're going to start with 1.
If you're
second, you get 2. So on your turn, you must play an orc or discard it out of the game. The rules in playing an orc is you're basically going to play it at any one of the territories. You can't play it at a territory that matches. When you play an orc, first of all, let me describe the card. There's 1 orc of one color and 2 of a different color.
On each card?
On each card. So when you play it, you're only going to acknowledge the top part of it. And so I've committed yellow there, so all other cards will be yellow on top, so we cover the purple, etc.
Okay.
So I've basically, when I commit 2 somewhere, then I'm going to draw 1 card back into my hand because I played a 2. It can be from any one of the draw piles.
Okay.
If I play a 1 somewhere, then I would draw 2 back into my hand. So there's kind of the balance there of 1 versus 2.
Is it out of one pile or anywhere?
Anywhere. So you can do 1 here, 1 here.
Neat.
So the interesting part of this is it's very much about timing.
So the ultimate goal here on these is to do what?
The ultimate goal is to have the most orcs at a territory when the last card is drawn.
Okay.
That's when that battle will fight at that blue territory. I have 4, you have 2. I win that territory. We're going to signify it with an arrow pointing at me.
Neat.
Now, I control that blue territory for the remainder of the game. But in addition to that, any blue orcs that I have in my hand at the end of the game will also give me points.
So are you nervous pulling cards just because you're hoping to build up before that last card is drawn?
There's a little bit of that. You definitely don't want to overwin also. You want to just even tie in some places because the tie will push to the next territory. So, for example, let's say I'm really doing well here, but you and I just triggered a battle here.
Right.
Well, 1 against 1, this is the tiebreaker, and actually that would have to be fought and won. So if I won that territory, then I would also win.
So you could actually know you're not going to win the other one potentially because of what you have, and you could cause another one to end by just drawing it, and you know you got that other.
Exactly.
And then the other 4 cards are discarded, so there's no more drawing in that area too. It shortens the game up a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So it really does play in about 5 minutes. It's cool. I mean, it's a satisfying. Timing is really the essence here, and there's a lot of tension in the hand, knowing what to commit.
Yeah, and when to play it.
And when to play it, and watching what your opponent's kind of investing into. So it's a pretty cool game.
Neat.
Really cool, yeah. So those are kind of more of an in-depth overview. That's what we started with on the Kickstarter, and now we're up to 9 total games. So it's pretty insane.
So what are the other 5?
So the other 5, just quickly, what we have are Nut, which is a set connecting game. I keep doing that.
It's okay because you're showing people.
It's called Nut. Okay.
It's a nutty collecting game.
It's a nutty collecting game. And what you're doing is actually, there's kind of a pie draft type thing where I choose this and everybody else has to choose what's remaining.
San Marco kind of thing.
Yep, exactly. And then you take that and you build a kind of a nut cluster tree thing in your area. All right, it's all right. That's fine. Maybe we need a
nut cluster is delicious.
Yeah. Nut cluster, not like 2 or more. Okay. Anyway, so this plays 2 to 3 players, and it's actually really cool. It kind of burns the brain a bit, actually. So, here's Boo. This is kind of like Othello meets Boo from Super Mario Brothers.
Okay.
So there's black ghosts and white ghosts, and you're trying to get as much of your color in the graveyard. And so you're going to place a card, and you're trying to get all the ghosts on that card facing the opponent's color. And so if the 2 ghosts aren't looking at each other, then it'll basically flip that card over. And so you're trying to use the cards to flip as much of your color into the graveyard.
Neat.
So, yeah, that's Boo. Dig is a pick up and deliver game. Wrong way again. And I'm so used to facing
I know,
the
you're
crowd.
showing people.
I'm so good at that. So Dig is 2 to 4 players, and it has an interesting mechanic with the yard. Basically, there's there's bones and bowls, and you dig up a bone, and there's this leapfrog thing that happens, and the yard keeps getting smaller and smaller. Eventually, the 4 or the 5 bowls in each of the 5 colors are next to the doghouse, which will determine the bone value.
Okay.
And so they're constantly kind of moving, and players have control of that too. So you're trying to kind of work the yard to get the most valuable bones
Close
based
to the
on
doghouse.
how close they are.
And that seems it's pretty risky potentially too.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the more bones you carry,
You can't take everything out because the bones need to stay in there as well.
right, and the more bones you're carrying at once, the slower you can move across the board.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Box is kind of a cousin game to Hue from the first set. Gosh, I'm embarrassed now. I'm going to make sure that this is facing. I will slide it. So Box is a game with a bunch of dots, basically, and let me just show you what a card looks like.
Neat.
And you are trying to create a 4-point square with your secret color dot. So if I was red, I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4. I would try to go like this and create a 4x4 red
in each corner
with the 3, with the 4 points, basically the corners. And so the wider it is,
right,
that's how many points you're getting.
Neat.
So there's some covering, and of course you don't know what your opponent's color is, so you need to watch it, and you don't want to be too obvious with what you're building. So that's Box.
That one seems like it could be a little brain-bearing too.
It can be, yes. There's a slide over that's facing the camera to finish off. This is a really hard one to describe.
Took you 9 to figure it out.
Yeah, but I get there eventually. So this is a deduction kind of hand-controlling game where it's a table-free game, and you have bombs and a single spy, 2 safes, and 2 top-secret folders in your hand. And you're moving your spy around in your hand, facing different cards, and that will determine what you ask about in your opponent's hand in kind of a mirror image. So if my spy is 3 cards over in my hand facing this way, I get information about your hand on your 4th card over.
Okay.
So yeah, and so whatever it is, you have to tell me what type it is. I'm trying to reveal the safes, first the 1, then the 2, then the folders, first the 1, then the 2. If I ask information about a bomb, then you light it. If I ask information about that same bomb, I'm eliminated.
Oh, wow.
So the way you move in your hand will dictate what number I have in my hand.
Right.
And so you're trying to be kind of secretive about how you move in your hand to not reveal too much about your numbers. And so there's a lot of interesting play in here. This has been in development for about 15 years.
Wow, okay.
Not as this, not a small card game,
yep.
but I've been tuning this game for that long, off and on, of course.
Spent a lot of time on Cinque Terre as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So can I ask one question that's not necessarily related to these? How are these doing in retail, and how is it working in retail?
They're good in retail.
So how do you sell them? Are they on cards?
They're actually, we have a point of purchase box, and so there's 5
so it's
of
like
each
chewing
of the
gum
titles.
maybe or something. You pull it out.
Yeah, it's kind of just a half sheet of paper size box.
Okay.
And they all kind of just line up across. And you can buy singles. Actually, you can buy all 8.
Neat.
And so it's great for you got to keep it close to the register.
Right. Yeah, because they're very easily.
Yeah.
That was why I was concerned. I mean, you want to sell them, and they're absolutely gorgeous little packages.
Yeah.
And I just was worried a little bit about that.
We haven't had much feedback from retailers about
it was
theft,
negative.
But
that's good.
Yeah. But I think most of them keep them pretty close by.
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad. They are, and retail's into it. They like the idea of them.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, because
that's a great price point.
And it's right that's like, oh, hey, that looks kind of interesting.
Throw it in, or a non-gamer kind of wanders in the store might be like, why not? I'll try it.
That was kind of how it was for me when I first got into board games later, was Ernest's Cheap Ass.
Yeah.
Because there's they were right there, and you're like, oh wow, that looks kind of interesting.
Absolutely,
and it was a genius idea,
and a lot of good games too. Just because they're small,
yeah, absolutely. And this is a great idea where you've got so much exposure for you in such a tiny footprint.
Right.
You're going to have 17 games, right? In the next.
I think there's 17 right now. So
that'll be awesome.
Going crazy.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing us.
So thanks.